Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Stories with K. Siddiqui. Uh, I am hoping that you're doing amazing in your life and that you're finding magic in your own story. As promised, I had said that on every Friday I would be bringing you a new story, a true story basically, that someone had told me, that someone had trusted me with, and I would be sharing it with you all. And I might be doing a little talk after that on it. So, before I start, I want to tell you that this story is being shared by the consent of the person who has shared it with me. However, I have changed the names of the characters because that's what she wanted me to do. Uh, Once I'm done with the story, I'll tell you how me and this lady connected, and then we'll talk about a few more things. Let's start. They married me off when I was 19. I remember that day clearly. Not because it was the happiest day of my life, like everyone kept telling me, but because it was the day I stopped belonging to myself. I was dressed in red. Heavy jewelry weighed down my neck, my wrists, my ears. You look like a queen, my mother whispered, tears in her eyes. But I didn't feel like a queen. I felt like a package being delivered to the right address. But he's perfect, everyone said. He's a doctor. See, he's so qualified, such a good family. What more could you want? What more could I want? Back then, I just wanted to be a good girl. And good girls smile, nod, and accept their fate with grace. So I did. Kamran was perfect, on paper, to the world. He had a successful practice. He wore expensive suits. He spoke with confidence and authority. At family gatherings, relatives would literally pull me aside. You're so lucky, they would whisper. Look at how he provides for you. Oh, you drive a brand new car? Oh, your house is so beautiful. What more does a woman need? I would smile, nod, and say yes. I'm very blessed. But at night, when the house was quiet and the world wasn't watching, I would lie next to a stranger. He never hit me, never raised his voice, never denied me money or freedom to visit my family. By every traditional measure, Kamran was a good husband. But he was never there. Not really. We lived in the same house, slept in the same bed, but we existed in different universes. He would come home, eat dinner in silence, watch TV, and go to sleep. Weekends were for his friends, his cricket matches, and other obligations. I tried talking to him once, twice, 100 times. Kamran, can we talk? About what? Is something wrong with the house? Do you need money? No, no. I just feel we never really connect. Like, we're just existing together, but not really. I work 10 hours a day to provide for this family. What do you want me to do? What did I want him to do? I just wanted him to ask about my day. I wanted him to notice that I had been crying last night. I wanted him to sit with me, talk about something, anything other than bills, groceries, and whose wedding we had to attend next. I wanted to matter. But that wasn't part of the deal, was it? The deal was simple. He provides, I manage. He earns, I serve. He exists in the world, I exist in shadows. Time passed. We had two children, Aisha and Hassan. I poured everything I had into them, every ounce of love that Kamran didn't want. I gave it to them. I helped them with homework, attended every parent teacher meeting, stayed up late when they were sick, listened to their stories, celebrated their victories, held them through defeats. For years, they were enough. They filled my void. They gave me purpose. But children grew up. And as they grew, they started seeing me the way their father did. Aisha was 15 when she first said, "Mom, why are you so emotional about everything?" I had been crying. Again. I don't even remember why, but maybe because Kamran had forgotten our anniversary again. Or maybe it was just wait of another day pretending that I'm fine. I'm not, I'm just, you're always upset about something, Mom. Dad works so hard and you just complain. Her words hit me like a slap. Hassan was worse. He started avoiding me, stopped sharing things with me. When I tried to hug him, he'd pull away. Mom, I'm not a child anymore. I became the nagging mother, the too much mother, the mother who cared too loudly in a house that was too silent. After some time, my children left for abroad. Aisha got into a university in Canada. Hassan followed 2 years later to Australia. I was happy for them, genuinely happy. They deserved to see the world, to build their lives, to chase their dreams. But the house became so quiet again. Unbearably quiet. For years, I had dreamed of having time for myself, to breathe, to think, to just be. But now that I had it, I didn't know what to do with it. The silence wasn't peaceful, it was suffocating. Kamran and I moved around each other like ghosts. Good morning, good night, did you eat? Yes, the bills are paid, thank you so much, bye. That was the extent of our conversations. I stopped crying eventually. Not because the pain went away, but because I ran out of tears. I just existed, going through the motions, cooking meals for the husband who ate in silence, cleaning a house that no one really lived in, waiting for video calls from children who were building their lives that didn't include me. I was 52 years old by now. I felt ancient, used up, empty. It happened on a Thursday morning. Kamran was getting ready for work when he clutched his chest and collapsed. I've never moved so fast in my life. I called an ambulance, called his brother, held his hand while my own shook with fear. You're going to be okay, Kamran. I kept saying, you're going to be fine. He survived. Bypass surgery. 2 weeks in the hospital, and doctors said that he was lucky. When he came home, he was different. Quieter. If that even was possible, more withdrawn. He moved slowly, carefully, like his body was made of glass. Are you in pain? I asked. No. Do you need anything? No. Same old Kamran. Even a near-death experience couldn't break those walls. His second heart attack came 18 months later, more severe this time. I sat in the hospital waiting room, hands folded in my lap, staring at the hospital walls, and I thought, this might be it. He might actually die. And I felt nothing. No relief, no grief, just numbness. Shouldn't I feel something? Shouldn't I be devastated? Shouldn't decades of marriage even mean something? But they didn't. All I could think was, maybe we never really knew each other. He survived again. Barely. 3 stents this time. The doctor was stern. He needs to reduce stress, no pressure at work, rest and peace. Peace. As if either of us knew what that meant. A few months later, one evening, about 2 months later, Kamran came home from the hospital and tried talking to me. We were in the living room. I was reading. He was staring at TV, though I don't think he was particularly watching anything. Sana, I looked up. He rarely used my name. I, I know I haven't been a good husband. My heart didn't leap with hope. It didn't flutter with possibility. It just sat there, tired, heavy. You provided? I said quietly. You did your duty. That's not the same, is it? I didn't answer that. We just sat there for a long time. And then there was a girl back in my medical school, Abira. I was quietly listening to him. I loved her, he said, and his voice cracked. I thought she loved me too. I told her everything. Things I had never told anyone, my fears, my dreams, my insecurities, my thoughts. Since I thought that's what love was, being vulnerable. He paused, swallowed hard. We fought a lot, stupid fights. I don't even remember what exactly about we fought, but every time we did, she threw everything I had ever told her back in my face. Every insecurity, every fear. She started using them as weapons. I felt something in my chest. Not forgiveness. Understanding. The first glimmer of it. After that, I couldn't open up to anyone again. Not even you. Especially not you. We sat in silence. I wanted to say something, to tell him that I understood, that it wasn't too late, that we could try again, or that I wouldn't do to him what she did, but I was tired. Too tired. Thank you for telling me. I finally said, I mean it. Thank you. It wasn't enough, but that's all I had. Since then, Kamran tries. In his own way. Every morning he makes tea for both of us, sets the cups on the table, sits down, waits for me to join him. At first, I didn't know what to do with it. The small gesture felt too little, too late. But I sit with him anyways, because what else is there to do? He asks questions now, like, did you sleep well? How do you feel? What are your plans for today? Did Aisha call? How is Hassan doing? He tries to listen as well. I can see him trying, watching my face, nodding at appropriate moments, but I can also see the effort it takes. The way his eyes sometimes glaze over, the way he changes subjects when things get too emotional. He's trying, but he doesn't actually know how to listen, not really. And after the heart attacks, I can't even be angry about it. His chest has been cracked open twice. His heart literally held in surgeon's hands. I can't expect him to crack open emotionally too. So we sit, we drink tea, we talk about safe things, the weather, the grocery list, the children, and stuff like that. It's not intimacy, but it's not silence either. It's something in between. It's truce. However, Sometimes late at night, I think about what he had told me about the girl who weaponized his vulnerability, and I realized that he was carrying things too, silent burdens, old wounds. All those years, I thought he was just cold, just unfeeling. He was actually terrified, protecting himself the only way he knew how. We were both groaning in the same house, both screaming silently, both invisible to each other. If only we'd known, if only we'd been able to see past our own pain, to recognize the other person's, but we didn't. And now maybe it's just too late. So, this lady, whom I have named Sana here, I met her when I was once. Actually, we spoke on a social media platform. I had recently, my drama, my screenwriting project had just been on air, and she had connected me through Instagram. We spoke, we talked. She wanted someone, some drama, something to talk about. What's happening? There's silence, and I think the saddest part of it was people would feel that this has no drama. What's in it? The husband is fine. He's well. He's providing. What he's just silent. Men are like that, but no, men are not like that, and marriages are not supposed to be like that. If you look at Aisha's journey, Aisha, sorry, she was the daughter. If you look at Sana's journey, it's very evident that Sana was going through functional depression. Functional depression, I think you must be knowing. Functional depression is a kind of depression where you're actually living your life the way it should be. You're doing all the tasks and everything, but you're still going numb. So that silence that existed between the husband and wife, it actually translated into a functional depression into the lady, and it was basically a lot of fear of intimacy, of trusting someone, of loving someone again, that made the man the way he was. So I personally found this story very tragic, because specifically the part where she wonders about the potential of this relationship, where she thinks how amazing this relationship would have been if they both would have just taken one step ahead and thought differently, tried to reach each other out. So yeah, I think why I really wanted this story to come out and for people to hear is because let's try to be kinder to each other. Let's try to talk to each other. I understand we have all been through bad experiences in our life, and we've had our share of traumas and pain, but what I really want people to take from Kamran and Sana's story is that try risking it again. From Kamran's perspective, try risking it again. Try trusting someone again. Try loving someone again. It's not necessary that it happens. The experience repeats again. And with Sana, I think we should, if one of us is in Sana's position, I think we need to listen to ourselves a bit more rather than being just useful to the people around, and just talk about our needs, our wants. And frankly, I don't even know, since I do not want to give any professional advice or anything over here. So if you are someone who's going through the experience of Kamran or Sana, or if you know someone who's Kamran or Sana, if you are someone who knows Kamran or Sana, listen to them. Be a good listener. So maybe they'll find their way around. And from this, we're done with today's session. It was lovely telling you all the story. I'd be seeing you all again very soon with some new story, something new to share. Till then, take very good care of yourself. Take very good care of yourself. And try creating magic in your own story, in your own way. Take care. Bye-bye.